This is Bad Company. I'm Dirt,
BDVampire.
and today we're
Denise
going.
here.
Wait, what? No, what?
Sorry, I didn't know if I was supposed to say anything.
Oh, wait, hang on. No, no, no. What was? What'd you say? Like, I heard your
I just
alias.
said
What?
Denise here.
Oh, okay. So you're just using your regular name. See, I thought you said something different. But today we're gonna talk about pretty much bad companies. So this podcast is actually coming to an end with this episode, and unfortunately, I am sorry, but the we can't keep going with only a few members, and coming up with topics solo is kind of hard. So we're just gonna go ahead and go with the with continuing. We got a few topics. We're gonna answer, go from there, and pretty much go from there. So just the first topic is what is management like to you guys? What do you guys see as management?
Management is kind of like they're supposed to be the experts as to, the beginning of the business, how it's supposed to run and everything, and, be the authority to keep things running, naturally.
Hmm.
But a lot of the time, management is, wind up becoming power hungry, selfish, only worrying about themselves and, the people they seem to favor.
Right.
That seems to be a very bad, common toxic trait no matter what kind of company you're running
Right. No,
or what kind of
I
company you're in.
I know, I agree. I mean, most companies, when they have management, they go, well, for an example, like a supervisor, the supervisor can't do nothing. Their management above them is supposed to do something. So like they go, oh well, I'll get a hold of my management, and the management, sometimes either takes forever or the process, somewhere along the process, the manager didn't get a hold and they decided to make their own decision, and it's like, well, eventually at a point, like when your management can't like keep it organized, everything else is gonna fall with it, and that's the factor. Like management is like something that I mean, you was actually 100% correct. Management is something that keeps the business together. It's like the glue, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The business and the employers are the pieces, and the management is the glue, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. Um,
A business is, I'm sure there's going to always be an issue, like whether it's like a customer service business or, technology based, but there's always going to be issues. However, the management is supposed to know how to handle those issues. So, unfortunately, the owner and, you know, founder of, whatever company it is doesn't exactly have to unless things are
real bad,
serious.
right? Real bad. No, and I agree. And
However,
mhm.
However, with management having the power, that they're given, it gets taken advantage of way, way, way too easily.
Yeah. See, when I'm gonna be honest, when I hear the word management, I think of someone that is willing to go above and beyond their ability to make sure not just like their I don't want to say people underneath them because that sounds terrible. I would say their employers, like their job is to keep their employers in line and keep themselves in line. But like if they ain't in line, like you was saying, most of them take that power and take advantage. That is probably the worst thing that any manager could do. And I mean, I can name so many businesses that have their managers where, like, literally, this is how you become a manager. You'll be the same level of everybody else. They go, oh well, do you want to be a manager? You go do an application, pretty much the same application that you did to get hired on to the position you're on, and then they go yay or nay, and then they go, hey, all right, you're a supervisor, and now the supervisor is telling everybody, run, 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 even knowing that they've been in that position and knowing running is not the path to take.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
Yeah, I'm currently dealing with that scenario at my job.
yeah, see, that
As you
is
know,
that.
I've been promised
Go ahead.
I've been promised a promotion, you know, to a trainer, which is just under a manager or, you know, supervisor,
Right.
whichever label. But, you know, I've been promised this promotion for a long time now, just for it to get pushed off and pushed off and pushed off. And then for them to nitpick how I do my job normally as just an employee.
Micromanaging.
And then,
That's literally what I hear is micromanaging. Like,
mm,
you can't, and what I mean by that is like someone's always over your shoulder now, always dictating every step, every decision that you make. And like, that's the problem with employees. Like, if you're in training, I can understand that they was doing that to their training, like what they're training you on. But like the job that you already
Right.
do, like if you hire somebody, you should be able to trust that person to do that job. And if they can't do that job, I mean, no, give them pointers or
that's
tell them
because
what
you
they're
hired
doing.
them in the first place.
Right, give them pointers, tell them what they're doing wrong, and then carry on. Don't sit there and go, well, because you did that wrong, I'm going to watch you for a week, and now this whole week you're being told, well, you're doing this wrong, well, you need to start doing this. Like, for someone that works, for an example, in the line of work for 3 years, like, you don't want to be micromanaged, you know, your last three days or last 4 days of whatever, say whatever you work. Like, you don't want to be micromanaged. Like, if you was never micromanaged in the beginning, why am I going to be micromanaged in the middle or the end? You know what I mean? Even
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that definitely goes into where you was talking about, because like that's what's going on is you're being micromanaged now because you want a promotion. And
Mhm.
there should be no reason why you have to be micromanaged to get that promotion. Like if you're, and what I mean is if like you apply for that promotion and they go, okay, well, we'll see. Like they should either know or tell you that, well, I'm sorry, we just can't give it to you. Because what they're doing is, dragging you
Yeah,
along.
and you know that's not what's happening. It's
Right.
like, oh well, so and so hasn't mentioned it yet, but I'll let you know. And
That's
then like I'll go ask about it, and then nobody knows what the hell I'm talking about.
that's terrible. That's terrible. Carl, do you have anything you want to add?
For me, I put down management is how a business organizes and direct workflow.
Right. Okay. So let me just to make sure like we're all on the same page. When I say management, like I mean managers, supervisors, HR, the CEO, them managing
Yeah.
other people, like that kind of management. So I mean you wouldn't be correct, but like a person that does management. Like what is it? Like to you, what is it?
The
Like when you
person, uh, oh, it's his turn. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, you both technically can talk whenever. I mean, we all know who's here. We're all kind of oriented with each other. We should all know when we all stop talking. But like, what is management to you? When I say the word management, what's the first thought that pops in your head?
Someone who knows what they're doing to keep the business running when the owner or founder isn't around to do that job.
And Carl, what would that be to you?
Way what she said.
Okay, that's fine. No. That's the idea. Is everybody to kind of come up with the same answer to a point. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. Like I said, when I hear the word management, I hear glue. It's what keeps the employees in check, and it's not just like because even a manager is technically an employer, so like they're even being kept in check. So it's the glue that keeps us together. Um, so to the next topic, if I can Is it bad to lie to your employees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because, like, when, as a manager, you're supposed to have that role of authority. And with that role of authority and, being in charge of a business, in order to have it running perfect, having it run smoothly, there shouldn't be any reason for, dishonesty with either employee or from employee to manager.
Right.
Because with the dishonesty then comes the distrust, and with the distrust becomes, a spiral out of control of conflict, and it just leads to the whole thing falling apart.
Carl, why do you think it's bad to lie to your employees?
It creates a lot of conflict
Right, but like
because
okay, for an example, say you was a boss to a company. If you lied into an employee, why would it be bad for you?
it brings a bad reputation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm gonna just keep this in mind. I'm gonna clip this piece out right here. But like, I was doing that just to to give you something else to answer instead of being like, yeah, I agree with that. But anyways, I'm gonna be honest. To me, the way I see lying is if you lie, then that means what you say, what you promise, what you do is uncredible. Like I can't trust what you say. So like for an example,
Yeah.
for like a grocery store, if they say, well, this is $5, and then you go to check it out and it's really like $10, that one lie now tells me everything in your store is probably improperly marked, and now I don't want to shop here. An example wise.
Mm-hmm.
So like to me, when you lie, it is your credibility and it is your reputation. But at the same time, like you're making it not just your reputation bad, but your employees' reputation bad. Because when you make, say for an example, a manager, doesn't help out a customer correctly, he makes your business look bad. But now I'm not sitting there saying, no, I'm not sitting there saying, go out of your way to be like, well, you did this wrong. No, but make sure your employees know how to do their job, how to talk to customers, how to, stack things properly, know how to look and go, oh, yeah, this is where this goes. Or, excuse me. Or see something that's on an incorrect shelf, or see that there's a typo somewhere. Like, everybody should be always, like, I'm not saying everybody should be doing the same job as everybody, but like, I'm gonna be honest, if I wrote up a paragraph right now, sent it to, for example, Carl to read it, and there was typos, I don't expect Carl to fix it. But at the same time, if Carl fixed it, it would help when he sends it to Denise to read it, and she goes, "Oh well, he also forgot a couple typos." Like if everybody would technically check each other, there would be no micromanage. You know what I mean? So like, when you lie, you take that micromanaging out. Literally, you do. Like you're saying your managers are not doing their job now. Saying your employees ain't doing it. So like you're making everybody look bad. That was the whole point of that, by the way. If you all didn't realize, is like you make not just your company, but your employees look bad. And no customer wants to go to somebody that's bad.
Sorry for the random outburst. My cat is like scratching my cabinet.
Oh,
Refuses to use the scratching post.
I'd be killing that cat. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be killing that cat. Give me 1 second.
Oh, he does it all the time. He does it all over the walls. Sorry, off topic.
No. You're fine. You're fine. Okay. All right. So another topic. God damn it. Sorry, my head itches in this headset to make my head itch. All right. So another topic would be, why is originality important?
Why is originality important?
Yeah, in this case, I mean, of course, the podcast is about bad companies, so we're talking about in business aspects. Why is originality important? So, for an example,
Well, I mean,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
if if you have employees or a company that does the same thing, it's gonna get boring to, customers or clients, because it's like, oh, I've seen this before. What's the difference? What makes you interesting? So that makes, clients and customers or whoever skeptical to try, your product or go to your place,
Okay.
because they're expecting the same thing from a different, business that has the same things that you do.
God damn, you stole everything I was gonna say. Now I gotta come up with a different answer. No,
Sorry.
I completely agree. But like, as the way I see it, originality is very important. And for an example, like I was gonna give Fortnite for an example. So we all know what Legos are. We've seen Lego movies, heard of Lego movies,
right.
played with Lego toys. They turn around and come out with an example-wise, a new update called Fortnite Lego, and now it's pretty much Legos. So if you've ever played any Lego game, it's literally that. I mean, I don't know if any of you. Well, I don't know if any of you actually played Lego Worlds. It's more closer to that than a Lego game, but point being is like that ain't original. I mean, no, the idea of going from anime game to a Lego game, okay, sure, and making every piece customizable, sure, that's original. But like going labeling it Lego, that ain't original. And the reason I say that is because, and not a lot of people know a lot about games, but like, what is it? Forza Horizon 5 ended up coming out with a Lego DLC also. So like, it ain't something that's so that ain't nothing original about it. You know what I mean? So originality is very important because, I mean, like Denise said, that organizations need a way for other people to be interested into your own product. So that is the major thing why originality is important. You want people to be driven to your stuff and not go, well, this looks like that, or this is that, just different on this game. You don't want it like that. You want it to be, oh, cool, I've never seen this before. Like, and I'm not just talking about video games. I'm talking about movies because, I mean, they've been remaking a lot of old movies now. And I'm not gonna lie, you're ruining a lot of old movies.
Trying to remake them and shit.
Right, same as games. I mean, they're ruining them. Like, look, don't get me wrong. Like, yeah, you might be expanding the story, but you're not making you're just shit talking your game. So like, and
You're,
like,
you're
go ahead. No, go ahead.
In a way, they're adding stuff in to the game or the movie that wasn't there when we were kids or something like that.
Kinda, but kinda no, because like for an example, a great example, have you seen the new Haunted Mansion?
I have not. Yeah.
Okay, so if you've seen the old one by Eddie Murphy, the new one is nothing like the old one.
Our future
No, same house, but different story. I mean, honestly, the house is different too. But like, for an example, Call of Duty, they created two new Modern Warfare games.
The famous Oradonian kid.
And literally,
Okay,
Modern
Betty.
Warfare, I think it's Modern Warfare 1 and 2, or Modern Warfare 2 and 3, are exactly the same. Like, there's no difference between the two games, just the story.
What great sale are you going to do about it? Thought so.
When I go party, I won't invite you. Sorry, I'm looking for something while listening.
No, you're good.
Do you remember your mother?
Yeah. Like for, just an example, like the fairy tale princess movies and everything. Which brings me to Disney creating the Descendants franchise. and broadening that story, you
Like,
know,
don't get me wrong,
okay, it's the
hang
villain
on.
kid.
Wait a second. Don't get me wrong. The first one and the second one was great. But then they did the third and then the fourth. And it's just like,
It got kind of boring.
it did. It did.
And, like, there were
another-
so many things in those movies that were, like, so easily childish that, you know, they could have made a little bit better.
Right. Well, I mean, even an example, I mean, you bring up Disney, and I mean, honestly, I'm kind of glad you did a little bit. The Mermaid, The Little Mermaid. They turned around and made it into a realistic movie. Like, why? Why? Like, there was no need.
They're doing that with a lot of them now. Like,
Right. I mean, but Toy Story, they just came out with a Buzz Lightyear movie.
yeah.
They did a
And
Lion King.
Mulan.
Yeah, they did a Mulan.
And right now they're working on a live action Moana.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Yes.
My point being exactly right there is like, why? 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 Like, it is uncalled for.
Running out of original ideas.
They are. So
they're I guess.
Are remaking old ideas.
So they're taking old ideas and trying to revamp them, but they're doing it in such a poor fashion that they're ruining, you know, childhoods. And
They are.
They're
and not just that. Not even.
Stories.
Yeah, exactly. That right there. Hang on. That was literally what I was gonna say. Is loopholes in the story, or they're changing up. Well, because like I was saying, like in the Haunted Mansion movie that Lily Disney did, the one in Eddie Murphy was a great movie. I love that movie. I actually own it. And then they came out with this new one, and the new one, there is literally the whole story is completely different. Completely. It's not even the same story no more. Like in the original, the story was about a man that died, his beloved died, and he's been looking for her. And the new one, spoiler alerts. Sorry, spoiler alerts. It was a demon that got brought himself there because a man was looking for his wife that died. But he ended up bringing a demon, and he died even from the demon. So like none of them was like, it wasn't even the same story. Like not even the same people. Everything was different. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was still it was a decent movie, but they definitely shouldn't have called it The Haunted Mansion. Sorry, you could.
It's like,
give it a different name.
you're fine. You're fine. Go.
No, that's it. Give it a different name.
But it's like with the freaking with the books. You know, with some books that, like chapter books that, you know, they make in movies.
Oh man, like Harry Potter.
Some of the chapter books, man. Yeah, some of those chapter books, man.
The Chronicles of Narnia.
It doesn't add to the story versus the movie.
Right, and let's be honest, if they physically turned the book into a movie, like you know they would have so much, like their detailed, like for their backgrounds and their props would be told in the story what their props would be. So like it wouldn't be hard. Like all you do is make sure everybody reads the book, make the scripts out of the book, and you're done. Because everything else is given to you by the damn book. Like the book is your instructions.
But then they go and they take the ideas and mess them up.
They do, and they do. Like story writers, probably get so mad. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're probably happy because they get money for their idea being used, but they kill their idea because the idea ain't the original idea.
Yeah.
Like that's what they need to do is like originality is not going back and using something that's already been done. That's not originality. You're destroying the original piece. If you're going to go back and redo something, do it the way it was meant to be done. I mean, I can understand, for an example, I can understand going back and remaking, say, Finding Nemo, for an example. And I'm just example-wizing. Remaking Finding Nemo. If you did that, it would be a great idea. Make sure you stick with the damn story, though. Don't add nothing.
Right,
Don't
right,
change
right.
nothing.
Finding Nemo, that storyline, Finding Dory was actually a really cute and really good idea.
It was. Hang on, but it was a different. It
Because,
was
you know, Dory.
but wasn't. Hang on, it
Yeah,
wasn't given. It wasn't given the same name, and it was a different story and a different idea. So like, it was totally different. It was an original. That was technically.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was like
some
a
people say.
continuation.
I was gonna say some people say that was a remake of the original. No, it was not. No, it was not. It was pretty much a
Far, far
sequel.
different.
It was, yeah, I was gonna say it was a sequel. So it was following the same line, the guideline, but totally different story. Like they did that one. I ain't gonna lie, they did that one great. Like I ain't gonna lie, that was probably my second favorite movie. I ain't gonna lie, my first movie was Lilo and Stitch.
God forbid they remake that one.
Oh, I
You already
mean,
know they are. They are.
but
They're
like, go ahead.
in a way they want to destroy, kid movies, so the other kids, other generation can have another.
No, pretty much it's like a wipe. Look, let's put it like this: it's a wipe. They're getting rid of
Yeah.
all of our old shit and trying to remake it new for the new kids. And if they fail, they're just gonna turn around and wipe it and start something new. Great example: SpongeBob. They literally continue. I think they continued this show for like a few more episodes or another season, and then they stopped the show and created a new show, and it's not even SpongeBob, but they still call it SpongeBob. Like
They're
what?
like, there's another one. There's another one that they have is Patrick Star.
Like,
Yeah, they have a star. They have a show now all about Patrick.
and see that's what I'm saying. Like you're killing the idea. You should like I don't know how else to put it. Like you're destroying ideas trying to go off of other people's original idea.
Mm-hmm.
And no offense, like I mean I can understand if they was doing it as Patrick being a baby, and talking about his life, sure. It'd be one thing. But if you're just talking about Patrick Starr's life, you got that from SpongeBob. Like why do you need to physically point out a specific character? You literally had views of every single of their lives. No, you was SpongeBob 24/7. But you saw, look, fucking SpongeBob would be in Squidward's house and you'd be hearing Squidward yell at him to get out because SpongeBob was in there while he's trying to play his clarinet or trying to paint. Or because he's trying to get his house ready for a TV show.
Sleeping.
Right! Or he's sleeping. Or they get stuck in the wilderness and they start talking and they all believe in this clam shell.
Yeah.
Like, that's original. That it was original. Don't go and be like, okay, well, this needs to die, but we need to remake it to make sure it. It's like you're trying to make sure something dies. And there's
Right.
there's no point. Like, if you can't, so here's the kicker. If you can't continue the original, that's fine. Do something different. Do something different.
You guys keep talking. I gotta step out for a second. I'll be right back, though.
No, you're good. So our next topic is going to be on why is it important? I mean, not really why is it important. Why should you finish what you start?
Why would you finish for what you should? Why would you finish what you
Why
started?
finish what you start as a business? Like, why should you finish what you start? So, for an example, I mean, I don't want to use us, but as an example, Derp Studios. We're in the process of making our website. Okay, and this is just example wise. Why would it be important for us to finish it and not just say, "Eh, fuck it"? Like, I'm just using an example. Or even better, hang on, even better, for the last supposedly for the last 4 years, they've been supposedly working on a remaster version. I mean, and this has been literally like, I think it's been more than 4 years. Might have been 7. But since 2007, they've been talking about how they're coming out with a remastered Black Ops. Or a newer Black Ops, whatever. And nowadays it's coming even more out. Why would it be important for them to actually do something like that? Like,
So
go ahead.
so they can get like, I would say more views, not more views, but like more people that play stuff like that. Because yeah, I mean the old games are they're amazing, but they do only so much, that to the point sometimes you get bored because you're like annihilating,
Okay,
or
okay, okay, okay,
you're
okay, okay. Hang on.
you have this.
Let me. I was trying to give you an example, and now you're just kind of going off the example. Like, what I mean is, why is it important for a company to finish what they start? Like, instead of starting something and then halfway through it, scrapping it. Why would it be important for a business to finish what they started? So, say they started on a project to go to Mars, or they started a project for another Jesus, excuse me. Start another section in their company. Like, why would it be important to finish doing what they was doing instead of stopping midway and just throwing it away? Sorry, I clearly I confused you.
Say,
And I'm back.
Okay. But like, why is it important to finish what you start? That is the next topic, by the way. Well, I'm waiting for Carl to give me an answer. I'm waiting for Carl to give me an answer.
It's important to finish what you start, because if an idea is left unfollowed through on, then it's honestly missing out on something possibly really important that corporations and people really need.
No, I agree
And
on that.
if you go half-ass on something and just don't continue on it, then what was the point of even starting it to begin with?
No, I agree. Carl, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you do anything like as a hobby?
yeah,
What do you do as a hobby?
Karina,
Woodward.
Oh,
someone
you wood
wanted to
burn.
see you.
Okay, that's awesome. So let me ask you this. Say you start wood burning, you know, uh, um, a Christmas tree, okay? And say you get halfway and stop. Why would it be important for you to finish that?
They don't have to go back and try to do it, but then you mess up.
What do you mean? I mean, your answer is fine. I'm just trying to figure out what do you mean by that? Because like
Right.
when you say that, I hear you stopped because you wanted to make sure you wasn't gonna mess up. But that's not what I'm asking. My thing is why should you finish that? Why should you finish what you start? Like, okay, let's put it like this.
So you can make sure that it's completed, and don't
Mhm.
have to go back
And reduce that.
and have to try to refigure out where that spot where you stopped at, and try to do it, but then actually fuck up because you didn't finish it.
Okay. All right. So I'm gonna be honest. When I hear the words of why is finish what you start, I hear that no project should be going with unacknowledged. So, and I know you wasn't in here, Denise, but I was talking to Carl about the Call of Duty game. Supposedly it's been stipulations for years now. If say they was working on that and put it on pause, like why would it be important? Like, and that's how this topic came up. Is like my thing is in that scenario, why like for them to finish that game, Carl, and I'm just kind of putting Denise into the place of like knowing what's going on and what I'm explaining. And like the reason to finish that would because the game would have so much hype already. Like that's the kicker.
Yeah.
When you finish what you start, you not just miss out what Disney said. You don't just miss out on what it could potentially had. You also miss out any hype that it was given, that it was in in the makes, any 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 progress that it could have got further than what you thought. Like it's really important to finish what you start, because if you leave it undone and unturned, you never know how far that could have actually went in general. So like for an example, we started this podcast hoping to, get a few episodes, quite a few episodes in. And unfortunately, we're ending it with this episode. But, we're at least going to finish it out and, put the rest of what we got in it and say farewell. We're not just going to be like, oh, well, we only did 2 episodes and leave it as is. You know what I mean? So like it's always important to finish what you start. Even as a company, like when a company doesn't finish what they start, they're going to have a lot of uncompleted jobs.
They crumble.
Yeah, well, they're going to have a lot of uncompleted jobs lying around. Well, to be all honest, that's like no different than, starting to cut someone's yard, get halfway done and tell them I'm going to be back tomorrow and don't come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have a lot of uncompleted and unhappy people. Because, like, you never know what person truly has their dedication into something until you ask. I mean, I got one more topic, and that will be it. So this topic is on sexual harassment.
Oh. Fun.
I heard a no.
Okay. I said fun.
So we kind of got into it, talked about it on episode 3 about sexual harassment a little bit. My thing is what makes it important? Why should a business make sexual harassment important? That is the topic.
So I'm going to start off by saying it's such an underrated issue throughout the entire world. Not exactly just in businesses or whatever, but sexual harassment in general is such an underrated topic that, so many cases and so many scenarios of things like that go unrecognized, or, that it causes so many issues in companies and literally all over the world.
Right.
So when it happens in a business, it creates an unsafe and kind of a toxic work environment for, literally anybody to work, for anybody to work in, because especially someone who's already been through that outside of the company, you never know who's been through what. So you're reintroducing a trauma to them, which is going to make them not want to stay.
Right. No, and I totally agree. My thing on sexual harassment is like it needs to be aware, because it makes people feel uncomfortable doing their jobs. It makes them feel unsafe. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about jobs. I'm talking about anywhere. Like everybody should be aware of their surroundings for sexual harassment, because even people like the people that go to gym get sexually harassed. I mean, people that go to grocery stores. I mean, don't get me wrong. You might not hear about it real often, but there are some people that get sexually harassed in them locations, and it's like it needs to be aware in general. Like it makes people afraid to leave their homes. It makes people afraid to conversate with other people and to coworkers. Makes them afraid to work. Look, it makes you completely uncomfortable. I mean, and especially traumatizes people, especially for the victims that been sexually harassed. It could and would traumatize somebody. So like that's my thing on sexual harassment. Is like it needs to be aware, because like there's so many different scenarios that you can list. I mean, and in all honesty, rape is a type of sexual harassment. I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, because if you think about it, sexual harassment can be, you know, technically it could be flirting, touching, stuff like that. That's same as
Inappropriate comments made
right,
by workers.
right, and that's no different than rape. I mean, it would be the same thing.
Right.
So like, I mean, I feel like nine times out of 10 that sexual harassment leads to. I mean, wait, no, let me take that back. About probably 3 out of 10 times, sexual harassment leads to rape.
Right.
So like
Right.
that's why I
It's
mean,
and that's the problem is it goes ignored so often because it's such an uncomfortable topic. Nobody wants to acknowledge that that sort of thing is happening, so it gets left unaddressed. And because it gets left unaddressed, it happens. And also, because it's left unaddressed, or when it's left unaddressed, it's, just given the bare minimum of guidance upon it that, there's no precautions for it, there's no punishment for when it happens in a company, per se, that,
no, I agree.
it's ignored. It's such an uncomfortable topic that nobody wants to address it, so it gets left alone.
I gotta go eat my hot dogs and mac and cheese.
So how would I mean, and just in your just aspect, how would you think that we would be able to make it aware? Like how can we like as people, like just as in people, not like in business topic, and just people in general, how would you think we would
People.
be able to make it aware? Like make it more aware. Start to make it aware. Like what do you think our
Instead
first
of, victim blaming, take into consideration that, sorry for,
No, no,
coming
no, no.
about this from a female perspective, like a feministic perspective, if I go that direction. Apologies ahead of time. But, it's, when it comes to sexual harassment and rape in general, there's a lot of victim blaming. So when it comes to scenarios and everything like that, when it is brought up, take it seriously. Don't just be like, oh, okay, well, what were you wearing, or what were you doing, or were you drinking, or whatever.
Right.
Don't take it as the victim had done something wrong. Take it as, what it is. The perpetrator did this thing wrong, whether, it was
Well,
intentional.
right, but you also, I mean, and and then I'm just bringing this up because other people would. Is like, what about them cases of like where the women encouraged it? Like, that's what I mean
Yeah.
by like how in general as people can we make it aware? How can we at least start, to make it aware? Like, and I mean you're doing great, but my thing is like you say that, to make it what it is, what it is. Like, but how do we also make sure that like we ain't saying the victim didn't, intrigue it?
Get both sides of the story.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to make sure
No,
like for people to
no,
know
I get it.
it's
I get
we're
it.
not we're
That's,
not we're not just saying like it is what it is, but like at the end of the day that's how it should be. You get both sides of the story and then go, okay, it is what it is at that point.
yeah, I mean, just in society alone today, it's because it's been such an ignored topic for so long, nobody really knows how to handle it. And unfortunately, it's a topic, or, like I said, it's such an uncomfortable topic, nobody really wants to take the time to talk about it. So until, until it's, destigmatized and, it's made into, it's never going to be, something incredibly comfortable to talk about. But, when more people talk about it, there's going to be more solutions that open up. But the fact that it goes on so ignored so often, whether it's, a male victim or a female victim, male victims are obviously, brought to
Right.
light a lot more.
Right.
That's a whole other discussion for another day. But it's, it needs to be on an equal playing field, is, first of all. And it needs to be destigmatized. And it needs to be made as less of an embarrassment kind of thing to talk about. Like,
Honestly, I ain't gonna lie. When I hear a lot of people, and I'm sorry, when I hear a lot of people talk about sexual harassment, I feel like it should be aware as much as cancer is.
yeah, because it's almost as much of a, horrible
Problem.
thing as cancer.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
it's such a big problem as cancer.
So
And
like,
I feel like
nope. Go ahead. You have it.
as time, I know it was a big issue, like in the older days and everything, and it was fine to go completely unnoticed. And it wasn't as frowned upon as it is now, as new generations are becoming more and more aware of what's going on.
No, totally.
However, it's kind of being brought to light in the wrong way.
It is. It is. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. So there are a lot. I mean, I'm not gonna say a whole lot of people, but there are some people out there that think it's okay, and like some people that also been raised like they've been aware, like they've been told about it, but they're not aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely
And
it's
then
good. Nope.
so to me, sexual harassment has a lot to do with gender roles. And with gender roles, men have been idly, taught to be, tough, strong, and, basically taught over throughout time that women are objects. And then, it's the same
It
way with
also
males with
I was gonna say
emotions.
it also depends on who you talk to though, because like I'm gonna be honest, I'm
Yeah,
not like
yeah.
that.
No, Carl's not either.
But like my point of bringing
But
that up
it's
though,
just, it's,
I was gonna say my point of
yeah,
bringing it up though was to make sure like people know like it's not just all men, or she's not just saying all men.
it's not all men and it's not all women either. Women are just as much of, the perpetrators as males.
They are. But that
It's
also
just not talked about as much,
exactly, and
which is
that's what I was
wrong.
that's what I was gonna say is like women do it to men too, but like most of the time, let's be
Right.
honest, most of the time some men don't even realize it, and they just assume that it's okay. And that's kind of the issue for like men when they have sexual harassment. Like they either don't know about it and think it's just normal, or then you have the men that just be like, all right, well, I'm kind of scared to talk about it, but I also don't know if it's real, like, because I'm not gonna lie, as a man being taught, raised in this world, like you don't hear a lot of men talk about sexual harassment, and you don't hear a lot of men come forward and talk about how they've been sexually harassed because of the fact that, like she was saying, men are meant to be or perpetrated as strong, so we're not just gonna come up forward about it either, because like if it's, let's put it like this, and I don't mean to like bring it up because it's more politic than anything, but like when you bring up like people that are transgender or women being men or men being women, like if you didn't realize how that started, it started with one person coming out and then everybody started coming out. It's going to be the same thing with sexual harassment. Like when one person starts coming out, everybody starts coming out. But it needs to continue instead of start, recede, start, recede, because that's how it's been for the last 3 years.
Mhm.
So
Like I said, it's such an uncomfortable topic
Mhm.
for both genders that because it's such an uncomfortable topic, nobody wants to, talk about it. And going back to like it being in the like businessy aspect and how it could be made more aware is why not approach it in a more direct and more intense way when it comes to training? Make sure the protocols and policies and the punishments for, the, you know, I'm trying to think of the right word, uh,
Suspect.
the execution of the insubordination of those policies that are set in place.
No, I agree.
Make those policies known, make the punishments well known, and when it is brought to attention, no matter who it is, what the situation is, make sure to follow through with the punishment, no matter who it is or what the situation is.
Right. No
You know,
exceptions. No
if it
exceptions.
requires that person to be terminated, yeah. If it requires that person to be terminated, oh well. You could find somebody to follow the rules and do the job at
Right.
the same time.
Right. It doesn't matter if they can just do the job. Like, as long as they follow rules and you made sure those rules are known, like, that any policy should be followed. Because, like, let's put it like this, policy is not law. So, like, I get that some people are just like, but, like, policy is still a rule. It's a rule that someone else made. So, if it's policy, you still got to follow it. Like, we have, like, over here at Derp Studios, we have policies that we got to follow. Well, I get it. Some people might be like, well, can't we just make it? No. There is no, when it comes down to a policy, there is no exceptions. When it's a rule, there is no exceptions. You either follow the rule or don't follow the rule. Now, no, say if someone, said something about sex harassment and someone didn't follow the policy, to the T, and so instead of doing the evaluation, just goes to the supervisor and tells the supervisor about the situation, and then the supervisor does the policy, that is totally a different story. But like I mean, because there's different ways to follow, because like let's put it like this, there's different ways to do math. And what I mean by that is like, if you ask me what's 2 plus 2, you'll tell me 4. Okay, but you might go, instead of telling me 2 plus 2, you might go, what's 2 times 2? The answer's still 4, right? That was more of a question for you guys. the answer's still 4. Okay,
It is.
so get what I'm saying? Like, there's more than one way to do things. So like, as long as you're following the policy at the end and the beginning, it doesn't matter how you get there, as long as you're following that policy. Because like, and that goes to like, there's rules. Some rules are meant to be bent, not broken, bent. Meaning you follow the rule to a point, if that makes sense. That even goes with policies.
Yeah.
So like when you say follow rules, I agree. But also at the same time, you got those people that don't even care about the policy. Well, care about the policy to the point where like you'll be like, okay, and then like you'll be like, oh no, I ain't gonna do nothing about it, and then do something about it. Like, I don't care if you don't have to follow that policy to a T. At least follow the policy somewhat. Don't just let it go unnoticed. That was kind of where I was going, is that like some people don't even follow the policy, which you are correct. Some people that should follow the policy, like you were saying, follow the policy. Yeah, I agree. But like, you can't expect everybody to follow the policy straight to a T, because everybody's going to find their own way to do something. So at least follow the policy somewhat. Don't let it go unnoticed. Make sure it's still recognized. Because like, and what I mean by that is because like, I could tell you to be here at 7 o'clock, and you're, for an example, sitting in your car in our parking lot at 6:30. You know what I mean? I can't stop you from doing that. Don't get me wrong, you're earlier than you should
Yeah,
be.
I do that at work all the time.
But you get what I'm saying, like I'm going off of what you're saying, but I'm just adding to it, like when you say follow the rule, like she's not just saying like don't follow it or follow it or don't follow it. If you don't want to follow it, that's fine, but at least follow it somewhat. Don't let it go unrecognized.
Yeah, follow it to a T.
Right.
If you're not going to follow it at all, there's the door. But if you're willing to follow it to a specific degree and, compromise with, the leadership or the management or whatever, then, there can be, like I said, there could be a compromise. There could be an understanding. However, if you're not willing to follow it at all, then why are you here?
Right. No, and I agree. So that actually brings up my last topic, which is the topic that is going to end this podcast. Is why is it important, and not just for a business, and I mean this as people wise. Why is it important to put the same amount of time that everybody else puts in with compromise?
Compromise in business is a important thing because it's a combination of, like we said in one of the earlier, like it was said in one of the earlier episodes, is it's not just the management and it's not just the employees or whatever that makes the business work. It's a combination. So if there's a conflict and it can be resolved, then come to that,
Come to that resolve
easily.
Right. No,
Come
and
to that resolve.
I agree.
So the issue doesn't continue further. So, a employee isn't cast out for such a silly reason, or a
Well, let me ask you this. So like for an example, for like someone that would be defending themselves, like if they gave an excuse like to you, and it sounds like an excuse to you, but someone else that doesn't sound like an excuse to, like what would you do at that point, like for a compromise?
Okay, for a compromise.
So like I don't know, like I'm trying to do this without doing this. How do you compromise with somebody that seems like they're only making excuses? Let's put it like that. Like, how do you compromise with that? Like, is it
If they're
important?
making an excuse,
Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you know it's an excuse?
You really don't know if it is or not, honestly.
Right. So, like, when you compromise, like, it
it goes with kind of a trust kind of
Right.
thing.
You give them a like a warning, a few warnings, and then the third warning, then that's when you like would terminate them.
But how? But what I'm asking is, how would you compromise with that at the time?
She doesn't want to let you go. No. Sorry, guys. Hold on. I need to step out for a second. I
No,
mute myself.
Yeah, you're good. But like, how would Carl how would you say you would stop that? Like, how would you compromise with that? So like, here, let me put it in a different way if I can think of it. So for an example, like why compromising, like to me, like let's put it like this. Compromise to me is like an in between of both. A benefit for you, benefit for them. And you both ease your way down to make it a beneficial for both of you.
If it's a late thing, then I would, ask them why, they're being late all the time, and if it is, a reason, like a good reason for like, I got kids or something like that, then me personally, I would let them come in at a different time.
Make it up.
Yes.
So see, and that's where I was gonna get ready to go to. I feel like a compromise, because a compromise, like I said, a compromise is in between. So like in a compromise situation, like I feel like if you feel like someone's giving you excuses, you compromise with them to a point, but like you can't always expect to compromise, especially like when, for an example, you agree upon something already. There is no compromise. Like you either show up or you don't.
Right.
So
Right.
like that's the compromise, you know, you got to have communication between a compromise. And if there is no communication, then like at the end of the day, there is no compromise. So like if there ain't an agreeal upon the compromise, like that becomes an issue. And like when you agree upon something before a compromise, that's a bad thing, because like that compromise is now void because of the agreement. So like when it comes to compromising, like you guys got to keep in mind, like you got to realize who you're compromising to, and that's business wise and personal. Like who you're compromising to, who you're like, compromise can be a deal, it can be, you know, a business interview of talking about times, money, I mean anything like that. Like that's all has to deal with a compromise. Like you got to compromise. They're going to compromise with you, but don't want your compromise. You got to make sure your compromise is stated, or they're just going to walk all over you. Businesses and corporations are not here to play. And that was the whole point of this podcast, was like to show like there's corporations that don't care and that will step all over you. And as us, as the people, we need to let them know this. We need to inform them that we know of this, that it's not okay, and we're not letting it go silent. This was Bad Company.